Always use the proper tool.
Excellent job.
Thank you. You know, I'm not gonna put it in CAD and design it in CAD, so this is almost engineering, not engineering. Come on down here. So this right now is the steering shaft that I've made up. You can see it rotates. It rotates better from the other end. But what the plan is right now for the steering setup, so follow my finger. Right down here, we're gonna add another mount. So a bolt can come all the way through. It'll be another mount right here. And then there will be a bushing here with an arm that pivots back and forth. Okay? And so then this arm that's like this will have a tie rod that comes down to here, which will pull. And then we will have from that same arm another rod that goes to the center shaft. So that way when the center shaft spins, it pushes and pulls on all of the linkages. And that's how we'll get to turn.
Sounds good.
The mounts that I measured out earlier, these ones are gonna go on the 1-inch shaft that I was spinning before. And then these two are the ones that are gonna be in a line with the lower suspension mount. So I'm gonna cut them out right now. No, it's just not cutting.
You don't think, is it gonna be hot if I touch it?
Yeah.
Babe, you can definitely flip it over and try it on the other side because
It'll be crowned like that. It's gonna be, when it's like poking up like that, it's gonna be really hard to make it drill.
Okay.
I'm just worried that the material is just trash. So I don't know if I want to cut everything. Let me, like I don't want to waste time with this material if I cut it all out and it's like not weldable, even though it's... The pieces, the middle shaft I should say, just keep breaking off because I think this is stainless steel. And you can't weld stainless steel to normal steel, which is a rookie move. So I'm gonna make 3 new ones of these and then we will be able to weld them back on, get these new guys all set up. What steel shall I use?
Not stainless.
Maybe I should use this stuff now. That's what I can do. Let's reuse these guys. I don't remember what I shaped them for, but I'm not going to use them, I don't think. So I'm only going to use this for one, because up here it gets a little bit too thin. That's pretty good, right? Alright, so I just finished shaping these 3 steering yokes, and so the heim joints sit in between them and sandwich it nicely. As you can see, I ground the middlemost one the deepest because as it starts to pivot back and forth, these are both pinched inward. So the inside is the critical dimension for it making contact with the bolt. I'm going to weld these on the bottom of that shaft and hopefully it doesn't break again because now it's actual steel instead of stainless. Alright, so you just saw me weld the yoke on the bottom of this shaft, and unfortunately because of the angle of these U-joints, there's one spot in particular where it starts to bind as it rotates, and naturally I aligned it so that would be right in the middle of our steering. So I knocked them off, and then I'll weld it back on where that range of motion is not going to be in the steering. Okay, so we have this arm here, which as it spins, it's gonna push on a arm that's gonna sit right here, which will pivot around this point. So we gotta make the mount for that pivot. We're gonna have the spacer here, which is what's gonna spin. We're gonna weld to that. This guy goes on here. This. Nut to hold it all together. And this can spin in here. So there will be arm on this that is going to get pushed, and then there's going to be a second one that goes from here down to the wheel as a tie rod. Make these nice and square like that. And then what I'm going to do is weld it down the side, so that way when I drill it, the hole will be perfectly in a line with where it needs to be for all of them.
Perfect.
So that's a really, really cold weld. And I did that on purpose because I just want it to hold it together slightly. I don't want it to stay that way. You know, I don't want to have to grind for an hour to get them apart. It's a winter wonderland out here.
Yeah, it's so bright.
Can you see the light through? Mm-hmm. Instead of going through and enlarging the hole, because obviously we need a bigger hole through that, I'm going to grind these apart and separate them, and then I'll do it individually, each one of them, because going with bigger and bigger holes through so much steel is kind of hard on the bits. I just finished notching the bottom of these guys. They're not beautiful, but they will do the job. You know, I mean, be good enough. We'll fill it in with weld. Anyway, what'll happen is 2 of them will sit on here like this with the heim joint in here. And then one of the ones that is not notched, what it'll do is it'll come out, it'll have a bend in it, and it'll come up, and another heim joint will sit there after. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's gonna sit like that. And this guy is gonna connect up to here. So when this turns, it's gonna push this and sync with each other.
So cool.
Right?
Yes.
And then we're gonna have the other one come off on the back side, and it'll sit here and it'll go down to the wheel. Not too shabby, if I do say so myself.
I think it looks so good.
It's pretty damn good. So we're gonna get a little tube between there.
Awesome.
And they're heimed so we can adjust them. So you want this pivot point to be in line with this one, to be in line with that one, okay? When it's going straight. What that means is when I have an arm coming from here down to the tie rod will be the same length as my A-arms. And so when I hit bumps and stuff, the tie rod will just pivot in the exact same plane as the A-arms, and I won't get any bump steer. I'll start to get bump steer as I turn, and now the pivot point is different because, you know, it changes. Because now it's not in a line. Now this pivot point isn't in line with this, but there's no way of getting around that. That I know of, at least.
What do you do now?
Now I'm taking the last heim joint I have.
And you're gonna put it on the back end of this.
So it's gonna go down there like that, but...
It's gonna face outward.
Yeah, it's gonna face
and
this.
attach to the wheel.
Yep. Exactly, you get it, baby. You tracking.
You're gonna bend it in the middle?
Somewhere in the middle, and then cut off whatever's the extra, probably around that point maybe. So it'll go in and tie in on the backside like that. What I'm gonna do to bend this, because it's a pretty thick piece of steel, is I'm gonna score it. So I'm gonna remove some material along that thing, and then I'm gonna smack it with a hammer a bunch of times, and it should bend fine. I mean, I scored it quite a bit, but I'll just fill that once I get it to the bend that I want.
You'll
then
fill
I'll
it with a weld.
Yeah, and it'll be strong again. Not too bad. Look at that. That looks pretty freaking cool.
And then you'll just cut it right there, and you'll attach it to, instead of this, to this heim joint.
Yep. Yeah. To that brace. For
brace.
the,
I mean, yeah.
Pass me the circular saw over there, maybe.
Okay, so we just measured it. Holy crap, that thing's
And it was precisely, according to Lucia, 4 and a big one.
No, 4 and an almost big one. 4 and a medium-sized one.
So this is 4 and almost a big one. That is just about perfect.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. Come on. Always use the proper tool. I'm stout. I'm not moving it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Oh! That was actually not going in.
You weld that on?
What?
Weld it?
Yeah, it's clearly not the correct size if you can't tell.
Yeah, but then you can just weld it.
Yeah, I can just go and it'll be fine. It's a very technical term. I don't think you'd understand. Not very clean, but it'll get the job done.
Oh my god, it looks so good.
How cool is that? So when I turn right, I turn the steering wheel to the right. This side pushes, which will make that push out. So we'll need a little tube connecting that together.
All right, what are we starting with today?
So, come down here. We finished up making the arms that make these pivot. So when it spins, it pivots and turns the wheel, as you can see. Do you need further back?
Yep. Good. Excellent. Oh my god. That looks so good.
Just hope I'm getting enough turning angle, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm hoping that's all stuff that we can figure out. See, this side right now, when it's fully pitted this way, isn't making contact anywhere. This guy's not making contact. Where it's making contact is right here. This guy's jamming into here. So I can ground this away and get a couple more inches of travel. You know?
Yeah.
And let's see what this side. I turn all the way that way. Same thing, same part. Right here is making contact. It's not quite perfectly symmetrical, but you know what? For a first attempt, that is not very bad.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be fine with that.
Well, the only reason I say that is because of how wide it is.
Oh, okay.
You know, and the back doesn't have a differential in it. So, because both wheels will spin at the same speed, it'll be hard for the back end to come around if it doesn't have enough turning radius in the front. But it'll probably be fine, and it'll probably just make it drift really, really good.
We love drifting.
Yeah, especially because this isn't going to be on asphalt. Next thing that we're going to do is we have to mount the top part of the steering column so we can actually build our steering wheel. Right now I've just got this bearing sitting on here and this piece of wood kind of pinching it so that the steering shaft stays in the middle. Once we remove that, we're going to reposition this somewhere like that, probably. Just like this, I'm guessing. We'll make a mount for the bearing, and then we'll build some steel up to the mount, cut off whatever's extra, and attach a steering wheel there.
His thinking face.
Before I had it like this, and it was welded like that. And like, with how I was building it before, that's fine. Now it's just a way higher quality build, and that's just not gonna fly.
And we don't like the square tubing. We like the circular tubing.
Yeah, square's poo-poo. That's where the seat's gonna sit. Should really have the front body on here.
Want me to grab it?
Yeah, do you mind?
So we got the front body on there.
I think what I'm gonna do is put it like this. I think that's really the only option, unless we add a couple more U-joints in here somehow.
You think that's high enough?
I think it's high enough. I just don't know if the angle that the shaft is coming out is going to be okay, right? Because if you imagine a steering wheel on here, you know, this is the angle. You don't want the steering. You want the steering wheel to be wide enough so you have leverage, but you don't want to turn the steering wheel into your gut.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. The way that, like, the height that you're at, it looks like it's going to do that.
Yeah, but I don't have any more room, right? Like the lower shaft is banging into the engine. If I bring it more forward, I could bring it right to here.
I think that's better. I think further away from you is better if you can.
Yeah, I just don't like the steepness of this.
I know.
Because now I'm going to be turning like this.
Well, what if you pointed it towards yourself just a little bit, like angled it towards you just a little bit more? Like take away some of that steepness, like there. I really do think that if you make it like point more towards you any more than that, like people are going to be uncomfortable driving it.
Well, I think people are going to be uncomfortable driving it no matter what. So what I'll do is I'll build it this way. If it's shit, I'll come back and redesign it. There's no way of knowing right now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to put it in CAD and design it in CAD, so this is almost engineering, not engineering. So I'm going to leave this top on while I build this, because it'll be my reference point.
You look so funny in this. You look like you're in Mario Kart.
Clean this up, tack it in place, build the other ones, and then possibly remove this afterwards. These cheap bearings from Amazon, these guys, they don't hold the bearing perfectly 90. They let the bearing spin inside of it. And so what happens is, as I try to turn this shaft, so look at the bottom of this, as I try to turn the steering shaft, the bearing allows play in the bottom, okay? And I knew this because on the other side of the shaft, on the other side of the U-joints, I have two bearings. And when there's two of them, then they hold it in the same plane and they don't allow it to wobble. So I have a second bearing. I'm gonna take off this bottom U-joint and slide this on the bottom, make a couple brackets for it, and then that will hold it nice and straight, and that we shouldn't have that wobble back and forth. And we should just be able to turn nice and easy.
Excellent job.
Thank you. This might literally be perfect. Now it's not the correct height, but I can, you know, take another piece of the scrap and just weld on a piece of square tube on the bottom of here, and then weld it to that. You know?
Mm-hmm. Just gonna see what you did in here.
So, it's ugly. You know, I put a bigger square tube underneath it to get the height that I needed to. And, you know, it's really not pretty, but...
Yeah, but it's working, so...
Yep, exactly. That's really not bad. especially if I had two.
Is it hard to turn?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's really not that bad to turn. It's funny, turning left, that wheel is so freaking locked out, and this one is not turned quite as much. You know? I feel like it should be turned a little bit more than that. This side's the same thing. That side's turned pretty hard, this side's not turned quite enough. So, I don't know what is causing that. I know that the outside wheel is supposed to turn more. Like the outside wheel of your turn is supposed to be turned more, I think. Maybe it's the inside. I don't remember. The internet told me maybe.
Wouldn't it be the inside so you can make sharper turns?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Great job.
Pretty
This
good,
looks
right?
so good.